A woman I'd never met stood in my garage, running a laser measuring tool across the walls like she already had the keys. My daughter-in-law stood beside her discussing rental income. My own son wasn't saying a word. Nobody had asked me. I looked at the agent and said, "Ma'am, the building you're measuring doesn't belong to this house." She froze. That's when everything started falling apart. But to understand why, we have to go back 8 months. Tell me, where are you watching? Please like and share this video. My name is Walter Reeves. I'm 60 years old, and I spent 32 years turning wrenches, first in the Army motor pool, then at a diesel shop outside Dayton. When my wife Ruth passed 4 years ago, the house got too quiet, so I started restoring old cars in the garage out back just to keep my hands busy. It turned into something real. Within 2 years, I had Reeves Restoration, 3 vintage builds going at any time. Enough income that I never had to touch my pension. On my old foreman's advice, I'd set the business up as its own company years before, separate from the house on paper. He always said, never let your home and your livelihood share the same piece of paper. I didn't know how right he'd turn out to be. When my son Marcus married Denise, I handed them the keys to my basement apartment and never once mentioned that the garage out back wasn't part of the house at all. It was its own business, locked under my name alone, built dollar by dollar after my wife died. The house was where I lived. The garage was where I rebuilt my life after my wife died. On paper, they were never the same property. That single fact became the biggest mistake my family ever made. Then Denise's mother, Sharon, arrived for what she called a 2-week stay after her divorce. 2 weeks became 2 months. Sharon used my bathroom like a hotel spa, my razor, my good soap, towels I'd been saving. One evening I walked in from the garage and found her dragging my living room couch across the floor. "It flows better this way," she said, not even glancing up, 3 feet from where Ruth and I had it for 11 years. A week later I learned Sharon had let herself into the garage hunting for extra fridge space and knocked a customer's carburetor off my bench. An original pot. 3 weeks tracking it down, cracked clean through. $400 gone and an apology I now owed a customer. When I mentioned it, Sharon shrugged. "It's just old car parts, Walter. Nobody got hurt." It started small, the way rust always does. First it was Ruth's old sewing room, cleared out one afternoon while I was at the parts store, turned into what Denise called a blank canvas for someday. They weren't even expecting yet. I didn't say much. Then the good towels disappeared from the hall closet, replaced with new ones nobody asked me about. Around that same time I started hearing things secondhand. My neighbor Ed mentioned, friendly enough, that Sharon had told him at the mailbox I'd been getting a little forgetful lately, bless his heart. I hadn't missed an appointment or a bill in my life. I filed that one away too, instead of raising my voice about it the way you notice a hairline crack in a frame and tell yourself you'll deal with it later. Then they turned their attention to the garage. Denise brought it up first, gentle as anything over dinner. "Walter, have you thought about renting the loft above the workshop? With the market right now, that's real money sitting empty." I told her the loft held parts inventory, that the garage belonged to the business, not the house. She smiled like I'd said something quaint. "Same thing though, isn't it?" It wasn't the same thing. I let it go anyway. Then Denise tried a different angle. She caught me alone one night doing paperwork at the kitchen table and suggested, easy as talking about the weather, that I add Marcus's name to the LLC just as a backup, in case anything ever happened to me. I told her Marcus had never once asked to be added to anything, and that I'd handle my own backup plans when I was good and ready. She didn't push, not that night, but she didn't forget it either. The real turn came on a Tuesday. I'd driven off for parts and forgot my phone, so I doubled back 20 minutes later. Through the kitchen window I heard Denise and Sharon talking low. "He forgets things now," Sharon was saying. "You mention that enough times to the right people, a doctor writes it down, and suddenly it isn't even a fight anymore, it's paperwork." Denise sounded uncertain. "Marcus won't like it." Sharon's answer came fast. "Marcus will like a paid-off garage turned into rental income a lot more than he likes his father getting confused in his 60s. Trust me, I didn't go inside. I called my old army buddy Hank instead, the one I still fish with most Saturdays. I told him everything. He listened, then said what he'd told me 30 years back when a sergeant tried pinning his mistake on me. 'Don't get loud, Walter. Get organized.' That Friday I met with an attorney named Diane Whitfield. I brought the LLC paperwork, the house deed, all of it. She read through everything and told me plainly that Reeves' restoration, the equipment, the inventory, all of it belonged to me alone, and that the house had never left my name either. Nobody turns a rumor into ownership, she said. Not without a fight, they will lose badly. But start documenting today, in case they try. I did exactly that for 3 more weeks. Dates, texts, printed emails, and every conversation Sharon or Denise had with me, while my phone sat recording in my shirt pocket. Then one Saturday I came home from fishing to find that real estate agent in my driveway with her laser tool, exactly like I told you at the start of all this. By then I already knew what I was dealing with, so I didn't raise my voice. I just ended it in under a minute, same as before. 3 days after that, Denise set a folded letter on the kitchen table at dinner. It was from a doctor friend of Sharon's, offering what he called a preliminary opinion that I showed signs of mild cognitive decline, based on things Sharon had described to him over the phone. The man had never examined me, never so much as met me. I brought it to Diane first thing the next morning. She read it twice and nearly laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was that thin. "This isn't a medical report, Walter," she said. "It's a liability. If anyone ever tries to put this in front of a judge, he's the one who should be worried, not you." She sent him a short letter of her own. I never heard his name again. That same night I sat Marcus down alone on the back porch, just the two of us, and told him everything. The window, the recordings, the letter from a doctor who'd never laid eyes on me. He went pale. I told him I loved him, that none of this was his fault, but that Denise and Sharon had 30 days to find somewhere else to live. Whether he went with them was entirely his decision to make. He chose Denise, packed a bag within the week, and left without much of a goodbye. Sharon called me selfish on her way out, said I was punishing my own son for wanting a family. Maybe she believed that. I knew better. The house went quiet after that. Quieter than it had been since Ruth passed, and for a while that silence felt like losing all over again. Marcus called 2 months later. Just to talk at first. He and Denise separated by the fall. He started coming by on Sundays, sitting in the garage while I worked, until one afternoon he finally said the thing I'd been waiting to hear. "I should have asked more questions, Dad. I should have believed you over believing it was easier to go along." I told him I forgave him. I also told him trust rebuilds slow, the same way you rebuild a rusted frame, one clean weld at a time. Tell me, if all this had happened to you, what would you have done? Tell us in comments.